First Chronicles, chapters 26 and 27. The following were the divisions of the gatekeepers from the Korites. Meshelemiah, son of Kor, one of the sons of Asaph. Meshelemiah had sons, Zechariah, Jediel, Zabadiah, Jathiel, Elam, Jehohanan, Elihonai, Obed. Obed had sons, Shemiah, Jehozabad, Joah, Sakar, Nathaniel, Amiel, Issachar, Peluthe, for God blessed him. Also to his son Shemaiah were born sons who ruled their ancestral families because they were strong, capable men. Shemaiah's sons were Othniel, Raphael, Obed, Elzabad. His relatives Elihu, Semachai were also capable men. All of those were among the sons of Obed. With their sons and relatives, they were capable men with strength for work. 62 for Obed. Meshelemiah also had sons and relatives who were capable men. 18. Hosa from the Merarites also had sons. Shimei the first. His father had appointed him as the first. Hilkiah the second. Tabelai, Zechariah. The sons and relatives of Hosa were 13 in all. These divisions of the gatekeepers under their leading men had duties for ministering in the Lord's temple, just as their relatives did. They cast lots for each temple gate according to the ancestral families, young and old alike. The lot for the east gates fell on Shelemiah. They also cast lots for his son Zechariah. An insightful counselor, his lot came out for the north gate. Obed was the south gate, and his son's lot was for the storehouse. It was west gate and the gate of Shalaketh on the ascending highway for Shupim and Hosah. There were guards stationed everywhere. There were 6 Levites each day on the east, 4 each day on the north, 4 each day on the south, and 2 pair at the storehouse. As for the court on the west, there were 4 at the highway to the court. Those were the divisions of the gatekeepers from the descendants of the Korites and the Merarites. From the Levites, Ahihah was in charge of the treasury of God's temple and treasuries of what had been dedicated from the sons of Laden, who were the descendants of the Gershonites through Laden, and were the family heads belonging to Laden and the Gershonite. Jehileli, the son of Jehieli, Satham, and his brother Joel were in charge of the treasuries in the Lord's temple. From the Amorites, the Israelites, the Hebronites, the Uzzielites, Shebuel, a descendant of Moses' son Gershom, was the officer in charge of the treasury. His relative through Eleazar his son, Rehabiah his son, Jeshiah his son, Joram his son, Zikri and his son, Shemolith. This Shelomith and his relatives were in charge of all the treasury of what had been dedicated to King David by the family heads, who were the commanders of thousands of hundreds, and by the army commanders. They dedicated part of the plunder from their battles for the repair of the Lord's temple. All that the seer Samuel son of Kish, Abner son of Ner, and Joab son of Zeruiah had dedicated, along with everything else that had been dedicated, were in the care of the Shelomith and his relatives. From the Isharites, Chenaniah and his son had duties outside the temple as officers and judges over Israel. From the Hebronites, Hashabiah and his relatives, 17,000 capable men, had assigned duties in Israel west of the Jordan for all the work of the Lord and for the service of the king. From the Hebronites, Jericha was the head of the Hebronites, according to the family record of his ancestors. A search was made in the 40th year of David's reign, and strong, capable men were found among them at Jazer in Gilead. There were among Jeriah's relatives 2,700 capable men who were family heads. King David appointed them over the Reubenites and the Gadites and half of the tribe of Manasseh as overseers in every matter relating to God and the king. This is the list of the Israelites, the family heads, the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, and their officers who had served the king in every matter to do with the division that were on the rooted military duty each month throughout the year. There were 24,000 in each division. Jeshobim was in charge of the first division with 24,000. He was a descendant of Perez, chief of all the army commanders for the first month. Dodai, the Ahohite, was in charge of the division of the second month, and Mikloth was the leader of 24,000 were in his division. The third commander as the chief of the third month was Benai, son of the priest Jehoiada. 24,000 were in his division. This Benai was a mighty man among the 30 and over the 30, and his son Amizabad was in charge of his division. The fourth commander of the fourth month was Joab's brother Ashel, and his son Zebediah was commander of him, 24,000 in his division. The fifth for the fifth month was the commander Shamuhuth, the Israelite. 24,000 were in the division. The sixth for the sixth month was Ira, son of Ikesh, the Tekoite. 24,000 in his division. The seventh was Heles, the Pilonite, and his descendants of Ephraim. 24,000 in his division. The eighth for the eighth month was Sibbecai, the Hushathite, a Serahite. 24,000 in his division. The ninth was Abiazar from Benjamin, tribe of Benjamin. 24,000 in his division. Then was Maharai, the Netophatite, a Serahite. 24,000 in his division. The 11th was Benai, the Pirathite, from descendant of Ephraim. 24,000 in his division. The 12th was Heldai, the Netophite of Othniel's family. 24,000 in his division. The following were in charge of the tribes of Israel. For the Reubenites, Eleazar, the son of Zikri. For the Simeonites, Shephatiah. For the Levite, Hashabiah. For Judah, Elihu. For Zebulun, Ishmaiah. For Naphtali, Jeromith. For the Ephraimites, Hoshea. Half the tribe of Manasseh, Joel. The other half of the tribe of Manasseh, Gilead, Edo, son of Zechariah. For Benjamin was Jashiel, son of Abner. For Dan, Azrael, son of Jeroham. David didn't count the men aged 20 and under, for the Lord had said he would make Israel as numerous as the stars of the sky. Joab, son of Zeruiah, began to count them, but he didn't complete it. There was the wrath against Israel because of the census, and the number was not entered in the historical record of King David. Asmareth, son of Adiah, was in charge of the king's storehouse. Jonathan, son of Uzziah, was in charge of the storehouses in the country, in the cities, in the villages, in the fortress. Ezri, son of Chilu, was in charge of those worked in the field, tilling the soil. Shimei, the Raphanite, was in charge of the vineyards. Zabdi, the Shiphite, was in charge of the produce of the vineyards for the wine cellars. Balhanan, the Gederite, was in charge of the olive and sycamore trees in the Judean foothills. Joash was in charge of the stores of the olive oil. Shitra, the Sharonite, was in